The New England Patriots failed to make it to the playoffs last season with an 8-9 record. Following a promising rookie year, quarterback Mac Jones had a sophomore slump and was one of the NFL's least efficient signal callers. The Patriots went from being the 6th-ranked offense in 2021 down to 17th in 2022, with only 31 total touchdowns in 17 games, or roughly 1.8 a game. New England finished 26th in yards per game compared to 15th the previous season. Misguided offensive play calling appeared to be the primary issue for most of the season. However, the offensive line was a disaster, and passing targets failed to create strong separation for Mac. The offensive stats are really poor, but also really confusing. Let's see. In terms of points per game, they were 17th with 21.4. Passing touchdowns, tied for 19th with 19. Rushing touchdowns, tied for 22nd with 12. Yards per game, 26 with 314.6 per game. Rushing yards per game was 24th with 106.6. Rushing yards per play, 21st, 4.24. Passing yards per game, 20th with 206.4. And first downs per game, 28th, 16.9. Now, here are the ones I think really paint a picture for us. Third down conversion, 27th, 34.88%. Fourth down conversion percentage, 29th, 38.46. Red zone touchdowns, 32nd, 42.22% of the time. And goal to go, 28th, 62.5. Average time of possession, 28th. Average plays per drive, 29th. Average yards per drive, 27th. Average points per drive, 25th. Percentage of drives ending in a score, 25th. But they got a passer rating of 17th with 87.7 and passing yards per play 15th with 6.6. So the highlights would be the passing yards per play with 15th and points per game 17th, and the passer rating at 17th in the league. Obviously not near the top of the league, but look, it's all passing stats. Who had the better season last year, Stevenson or Mac? I would say Stevenson, but it was mostly because the receiving contribution. Take that away, and Stevenson had an okay rushing year. Most of the rushing stats are ranked in the 20s. Actually, the Patriots' passing stats beat the rushing stats in most categories. So is Mac and the receivers the bad from last year? Wait, hold on. So the Pats struggled to move the ball rushing last year, so they're forced to pass earlier and try to move the ball through the air to get first downs, without an elite wide receiver one to force favorable matchups and coverage. I think we might be onto something here. This makes sense since the Patriots were 27th in terms of time of possession last year, 24th in terms of passing touchdowns as a percentage of their offense at 48%, down from the year prior, which had twice as many rushing touchdowns. You get that? Less passing touchdowns percentage-wise in 2022 versus 2021, but essentially half as many rushing touchdowns in 2022 than 2021. Interesting. In terms of notable passing data, they were 8th in incompletions and 17th in completions. They averaged 31 pass attempts per game, which was the same as 2021. They were 17th in percentage of passing snaps at 57%, up from 54 in 2021. What? Huh? 57% of their first downs were passes, up from 52 in 2021. New England was 25th in terms of passing first downs, 14th in terms of yards per pass attempt at 7.1, down from 7.9 in 2021. Their average yards per completion was 9.9, which was 23rd, down from 10.5 in 2021. So throwing more, but more in completions. Low third down conversions from passing, lower yards per completion. Now, rushing data, they were still trying to run the ball, but the numbers showed that they were really bad at rushing when they really needed it. They were 16th in terms of percentage rushing snaps. Rushing as percentage of their offense was 33.5, which was 23rd, and that was down from 35 in 2021, which was essentially 3 less rush attempts per game in 2021. Rushing first downs per game was 24th at 5.8 versus 8 per game in 2021. Again, 24th this past year with 5.8 first downs from rushing versus 8 in 2021. Remember that. Rushing touchdowns per game, 24th at 0.7. Not even one rushing touchdown per game versus 1.3 per game in 2021. That might not seem that bad. But in 2021, they tied for second right behind the Eagles at 1.4. So they ran the ball into the end zone in 2021 versus 2022, barely. Less rushing first downs, half as many rushing touchdowns. So yeah, they still tried to rush, but they could barely move the ball. And they were really bad at rushing when you really wanted to be really good at rushing. Get it? Getting that first down and getting into the end zone. However, they really didn't have the same opportunities to boost those, did they? New England's red zone scoring attempts per game was only 2.6, which was 28th. So they barely got into the red zone. This was versus 2021, which they were 3.6, which would have been top 6 that year. Again, they were dead last in red zone scoring touchdowns last season with 1.1 touchdowns per game versus 2.3 in 2021. Less than half. The number of first downs per play was 0.285, 25th, versus 0.343 in 2021. So they even moved the ball better. Fourth down conversion rate was around 38.5, 28th in the league, down from 71.43 in 2021. Listen to that again. Fourth down conversion rate was around 38.5, 28th in the league. That is down from 71.43 in 2021. Now, that was first in the league by far. The next best was Kansas City at 68. Sacks per game was probably the worst, up to 2.4 per game, which was 19th. In 2021, it was 1.7. That was third in the league. Now, let's try to clean up some of this data. We're going to use that DVOA. So it's a defense-adjusted value over average, which essentially dissects every single play of the NFL season, assigning each play a value based on both total yards and yards towards a first down. Basically, it helps clean up all the previous data into a single data point. Now, offensive DVOA, the Patriots were 26th. Passing DVOA, 24th. Rushing DVOA, 25th. First down DVOA, 26th. Third and fourth down conversions DVOA, 21st. Red zone DVOA, 32nd. Goal to go DVOA, 29th. I mean, the best number there would have been third and fourth down conversions. DVOA was 21st. So what's the takeaways? The entire offense was a mess. But the red zone and short yardage offense was a major problem. This is a problem because when you need that 3 yards, you didn't get it. When defenses needed to stop you, they did. Where was the real weakness for me? I would say it was the offensive line play and play calling. Bad blocking led to poor rushing, Mac being rushed, and sacked more. These guys failed to move the pile despite having talented running backs, along with a switch to zone blocking with a part-time O-line coach. I don't think it was entirely a talent issue, it was just a mess. The other big issue was letting Karras go and trading Shaq Mason. This led to a domino effect, including having to draft Cole Strange in the first round. I like Cole, but he was tossed into the fryer immediately, and it wasn't the best move. It definitely upset the chemistry that was fairly solid the prior season. Again, ranked third in allowed sacks in 2021. Third. The play calling was bad. Really, really bad. I'm not an offensive coordinator, but man, I can't tell you how many times I was completely speechless watching Mack or Zappy walk off the field with their head down after a 3-and-out. How many times did we watch the Patriots systematically move the ball down the field? Like a handful of times, like, oh, that was a good drive. And even then, it was sometimes it would be, oh, that was a good drive, and still ended up being a field goal. The Patriots offense scored on big plays and good field position. They didn't eat up the clock. They knew they had to get the big plays, but they didn't have the sequence to set it up. Nothing looked right. So, bad O-line play and bad play calling. Patricia. The other thing to consider is Patricia's offensive theory. They ditched the fullback, which was absolutely critical to their 2021 offense. Don't believe me? Watch their 2021 touchdown videos. See how many times Jakob Johnson led Harris into the end zone from the offset eye or in motion, or was on the field showing play action leading into a red zone receiving touchdown. The fullback helped move the ball and get the ball into the end zone. You can't argue. It was obvious we needed a fullback last year. And for those of you who are going to say the fullback is outdated, then why did we have an increase in the use of fullbacks last year around the league? Keep in mind, the NFL is all about rotation. Things come and go. The other issue with the offense was the playbook. Mack is not a big downfield passer for a number of reasons. I like Mack as our quarterback. I am 100% behind him. But he is not built, nor has the mechanics to unload beyond 30 really. Keep him under 30 yards with lots of RPOs and crossers. Just move the chains and get down to the red zone for a touchdown. So, the OC and the O-line coach need to be replaced. Check. The Patriots have already taken at least one step to solidify the offense by bringing back Bill O'Brien as the offensive coordinator, and Clem is in for O-line coach. Good moves. They should have a dramatic impact on the offensive side of the ball. However, not everything was Patricia's fault. The other major blow last season was injuries. Mack, Isaiah Wynn, Thornton, Parker, Damian Harris, Hoyer, Kajust, Cannon, Myers, Montgomery, Jonnu Smith, and David Andrews. Yeah, those are some of the names to be missing. Plus, some depth guys, including Scotty Washington and Christian Wilkinson, who never got even a chance last year. This is just offense, and these guys who missed games. The list of questionables and limited practice last year is almost endless. I think the Patriots have brought in some rookies that have a fairly clean injury report, minus Booty. However, I still think this is a lingering concern. Another big issue was not having elite talent for Mack to throw to. I'm not saying that any of the receivers last year were trash, not at all. But I will say that this year's pass catchers are a significant upgrade over last year. I do think Juju is better than Myers, although I will miss him dearly as a reliable receiver. Gesicki is a massive upgrade over Jonnu in my opinion. But it is sad that Marcus Jones, a defensive player, was one of your big sparks on offense last year. I love Marcus, and I'm glad he was willing to do that, but an offense should not be scrounging the defense for playmakers. Finally, Stevenson got burnt out, and the running game suffered. Damian Harris and Montgomery were also injured, so Stevenson had to carry the responsibility. Harris and Pierre Strong were able to show up here and there, but it was mostly Stevenson, and he was burnt out in the last third of the season. This was obvious to everyone, including opposing defenses, so they're able to scheme for it, and they were ready. Yes, there were several other aspects that hurt the Patriots offense last year, but I'm confident these were the ones that really were weighing things down. Sadly, most of this could have been avoided with a solid OC and an O-line coach. Even the lack of targets and injuries were not as big of a problem as the offensive structure, coaching, and play calling last year. So have the Patriots made progress thus far? Absolutely. Like I already mentioned, they got O'Brien, they got Clem to fix the major organizational and coaching issues. Boom, done. The offensive line play is going to be the most critical item on the to-do list this year. Questions at right tackle are significant. We got Reef, McDermott, and So getting reps. Anderson and Trent Brown can play right, so can Stuber. Plus, Onwenu can play there too. Great. They have a lot of depth at right tackle. But who is the starter? I am happy we have a lot of options, believe me. Bringing in Reef and Anderson alleviated the injury and depth issue there. So, some progress at right tackle. Right guard is solid with Onwenu, and if he has to play right tackle, I am confident Hines, So, or Mafi can fill the role. David Andrews is back and will be leading the O-line. Plus, the Patriots went out and got Jake Andrews in the draft. Cole Strange has a season under his belt, so we should see an improvement there. Plus, the Patriots got So and Mafi to bolster. Left tackle is probably still Trent Brown's gig, which, when he is 100%, he is a great tackle. The Patriots brought in Reef and Anderson plus So in the drafts. Maybe one of them can play left tackle and move Trent to the right. Regardless, I think we could say the O-line has improved over last year, on paper. Certainly in terms of depth and versatility. The pass-catching personnel has improved in my opinion. Like I said before, Juju over Myers, Gesicki over Jonnu. I think Pop Douglas could be an interesting option if he makes the team. Even the possibility of Scotty Washington and Lumpkin bringing in some unique attributes. Keep an eye on Ty Montgomery since he really only played against Miami last year before being put on IR. Looking at last year's pass catchers versus this year shows that there is a clear upgrade for Mac to throw to, plus some additional depth. So what needs to happen? Looking at the data points above, I think protecting Mac is going to be the key to the offense. Mac did not do well sped up. A good chunk of his turnovers came from pressures and hits. He got sacked more last year. Another thing that needs to happen is to improve the red zone and short yards performance, which again goes to blocking. Lastly, I think we need to get targets open in Mac's wheelhouse, which is those intermediate routes over the middle. I believe these issues can improve with game planning and coaching. However, I think we also need to consider personnel here. Sadly, if the team really wants to have a successful season, I think Trent Brown is probably the most important guy on the entire roster right now. If he plays well, the offensive line play won't be incredibly atrocious. If he has a great season, Mac would have more time to throw and with less pressures and would obviously improve the passing game. Additionally, the running game would be better with a 6'8" juggernaut. The Patriots need to get him back on board, and they also need to figure out where he's going to work. He's at left right now, but if Calvin Anderson shows up solid and the right tackle is a mess, we might see Calvin at left and Trent at right. There's a lot to figure out on the offensive line, but it starts with Trent. Strange will also be a pivotal issue. He needs to make a huge leap this year. The other must-have is the development of Hines, Stuber, Jake Andrews, So, and Mafi. These guys would be great value in terms of depth and potentially showing the possibility to be viable replacements for the current starters. The red zone and short yardage offense will require several personnel moves. First, finding a fullback, or a H-back / sniffer. The Patriots needed a lead blocker. That's it. I don't expect them to bring in a fullback. I saw a video of Chris Elmore from Syracuse. He's looked great in recent workouts. Dude was a guard and a DN before moving to fullback. But we could be looking at an F-back, H-back, or sniffer, which could be in play with their current roster. Aaron Hernandez had this role with Bill O'Brien despite being a tight end and came in to play the H-back to block. I think we might see that again. I'm not sure who can do this. Fursker looks like he could be operative there. Lumpkin is more of an inline guy, but maybe they go big there. Maybe he can play that role. This brings me to my next suggestion, is to bring Lumpkin in for inline blocking. The guy has the frame to be a tackle. With the offensive line being questionable, maybe you find a spot on the roster for Lumpkin to help out. He would also be a great big target in the end zone, especially if it's a goal-to-go situation. You won't have a lot of ground to find space, so that 6'5" frame would find some space vertically. Another personnel issue is to consider is the RB2 role. Stevenson is the RB1, but I don't think Harris and Strong have the skill set or attributes to fill in the RB2 role this year. RB2s need to share the load with a similar skill set to the Premier. I have been pushing to acquire Zeke at the right price because he provides that comprehensive skill set and is an amazing blocker. In addition, he doesn't really drop the ball, and he can catch the ball. I know some people hate the idea of getting Zeke, but man, we are going to need help blocking, and having good blocking tight ends and running backs will help protect Mac and move the ball. Fournette is also a solid pick here. I know some people would like Dalvin Cook, but I think he's looking for top dollar. I wouldn't go that route. Obviously, we need Pierre Strong and Kevin Harris to show some development as well. I still like Aiden Bourget. I also like Ike Earbor. He looks to be working really hard as a receiving back and just posted an updated video of him running in the low 4.3s. He said it was a 4.37, and I believe him. For passing targets, the Patriots have already made some notable moves that we discussed, but they missed out on Hopkins. Yet we still need a true number one that can be effective in every alignment and every formation. We need a guy who dictates coverage. We also need depth. DeAndre was that. I don't know if the Patriots are saving the cash for a running back, tackle, or maybe re-upping contracts this year. Maybe they're possibly target some guys getting released or cut during preseason. I don't know. But there are other players on the team that they could be finding spots for, like Scotty Washington or Demario Pop Douglas. Both of these guys bring some different talents that O'Brien could find a way to use. What is more, both apparently looked solid during OTAs and minicamp. Point here is that we will need at least some internal development to bring us another type of pass catcher. Lumpkin, Washington, Douglas, heck, even Trey Nixon could be an option if his hands improved. These guys could provide depth and a different look and a change of pace, which is sometimes all you need to break the defense. Another topic to discuss is I'm going to be hopeful that they're going to be aggressive this preseason around waivers and shopping practice squads, especially for O-tackle help, if there's anybody worth it. So, to sum it up, fix the O-line, find some supplementary blocking from tight ends and running backs, consider adding Zeke or Fournette for some RB2 responsibilities, and to help save Stevenson. They are going to need development from internal receivers, tight ends, as well as running backs. I don't think these issues are too big to overcome. They have the coaching, they have the players, they have the financials, and the know-how to pull most of these off. Yeah, pulling in Hopkins would have been really great, but the team is not handcuffed to that deal. They can make other moves and develop their players. Before I finish, I would like to point out that this year's offense appears to be starting off on much better footing. I think the whole world was scratching their head with Patricia and Judge running the show last year. Moreover, the lack of additional passing targets minus Ty Montgomery was also an issue. Cole Strange was a big question mark. The offensive line as a whole was a concern. The loss of Shaq Mason, Karras, and Jakob Johnson was a clear concern. There were a lot of concerns across the board. This year, most of those issues have been alleviated. The coaching is better. The targets are better. The offensive line is better in terms of depth. Pierre Strong, Kevin Harris, and Strange should show some improvement, along hopefully with Thornton. I think there's a lot to feel better about. Give me a veteran running back. I think it's possible that we have a top 10 offense again, assuming Clem can get that O-line back up and running. Anyway, camp should be fun. So, what do you guys think about the offense? Will they be a top 10 offense? Can they make moves to get them to that top 5? What is the biggest need? Let me know in the comment section below. I will be putting out a part 2 where I will discuss personnel packages and the playbook. This will be out soon. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. As always, thank you for watching.